eastwards, so expect some quite strong gusty winds, some intense outbreaks of rain and possibly some thunder and lightning as this drifts its way eastwards across the country. So quite a damp start to the day, quite a damp start moving into the afternoon across eastern areas, and feeling quite blustery across the west too, but where we see any sunshine, still feeling fairly warm, highs reaching around 23 degrees Celsius across the southeast. Then to end the day across Scotland, once again, further heavy bands of showers drifting their way through, turning quite blustery around coastal areas as this does so. Once again, another cloudy end to the day across Northern Ireland, but we should start to see some brighter skies drift in from the northwest. Similar across Wales, parts of Devon and Cornwall too. Start to see some sunshine, but still, yes, the risk of the odd shower. But the most intense showers eventually clearing their way across eastern areas. And for a time, it leads to a largely dry night across much of England and Wales. Clearer skies, so it is going to be feeling that little bit cooler than of late. But across the west, once again, further clouds starting to drift their way in, further heavy and intense showers as we head towards dawn across western areas. So a little bit milder still under cloudier skies, but where we see those clearer skies, it is going to feel a little bit of a cooler start to the day compared to what we've had earlier in the week. Once again, through Thursday morning, we're still set to see plenty of showers drift their way in from the west, these turning heavy and blustery at times. The best of the brightness across the very far east and southeast, but even here we could start to see some showers into the afternoon. Temperatures returning to more average for the time of year, highs reaching around 22 to 23 degrees Celsius. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Construction affects drivers on the M4 westbound at junction 42. The entry slip road is closed and diversions are in place. On the M6 northbound between junctions 4 and 4A, drivers face 10-minute delays due to congestion. On the M1 northbound, a broken-down vehicle between junctions 18 and 19 in Northamptonshire closes one lane. Meanwhile, the M25 clockwise between junctions 6 and 7 has a road traffic collision closing one lane. Alternative routes are recommended for all affected areas to ease your commute, and on the trains, there is disruption on the Avanti West Coast line between Watford Junction and London Euston. Stay updated with us for more travel news. Go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I thought, well, why not? It's a very ambitious project. But I'm not surprised it's so many years behind schedule, and the sheer cost of it is amazing. But it's a shame it looks like it might not be going ahead, but there are a few countries they can use as a bit of a backup.
Oh, Eddie, we've got some images here of you on the screen. Do you remember these moments here?
Oh, I remember them well. It's nearly 38 years ago, back in Calgary, and I can still remember it like it was yesterday.
Was that the 19... So Eddie, just for the audience know who you are the first person to represent Great Britain in Olympic ski jumping. That's right. So that was it 1988? Was this your first performance we can see here?
It was. I think it was the small hill, that one, and on the 70 metre, and then a week later I did the 90 metre. So, yeah, I became Britain's first ever Olympic ski jumper. So I still remember it like it was yesterday.
Oh, well, absolutely. Look at those scenes. They're absolutely glorious, Eddie. Love to see it. Well, just go back to our previous topic there for a second. So you know, I'm guessing you have seen some of the facilities around the world. Where seems like a sensible place to have this? Because, of course, we're considering South Korea and other countries as well. Where would you pick this? What would be the best location in your experience, Eddie?
Well, actually, about, I can't remember the year, but at least 10 to 15 years ago, I commentated on the Asian Olympics, and I was commentating when it was in Kazakhstan, in Almaty. Right. So that's another place that they could use for the Asian Olympics. Unfortunately, in the ski jumping event where I was commentating, there were only 12 jumpers taking part. So it was a very, very small competition, but it was great fun. And they do have a ski jump in Kazakhstan, so maybe they can use that as well as a backup.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning, it's 9:30 on Wednesday, the 27th of August, live across the UK. Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce, and that's Dawn Neeson.
Well done, Andrew. OK, tough talk from Reform UK leader Nigel Farage.
If you come to the UK illegally, you will be detained and deported and never, ever allowed to stay, period.
And the Taliban say they'll welcome back Afghans who are booted out of Britain under Nigel Farage's mass deportation crackdown. But should the government be negotiating with a terrorist organisation?
Yes, and of course, breaking news. Will energy price cap rises fuel the winter of discontent as it rises by 2% this morning? Energy Minister Michael Shanks stands by the government's mission to deliver clean power by 2030.
This isn't something we can achieve overnight. It's something we're moving faster than any government has in the past. It will have results, but it won't be something we can change overnight.
There's more evidence we're cozying up to the European Union all over again. Labour is eyeing a new agreement on food and drinks. Will it undermine Brexit?
Again. And benefits Britain. Yes, the number of people on jobless benefits has hit a record of 6.5 million after jumping by 500,000 under... Oh yeah, Labour. Are we a nation of scroungers though?
Or shirkers. Cancer crisis warning. Leading charities fear more than 6 million new cases could be diagnosed in England between now and 2040. Think about that. That's one person every 2 minutes.
Oh, depressing. And Andrew Pearce's favourite story of the entire day. The excitement in the studio is absolutely sizzling as pop superstar Taylor Swift announces her engagement to American football pro Travis Kelce. Even US President Donald Trump's taking an interest in it.
Well, I wish him a lot of luck. I think he's a great player. I think he's a great guy, and I think that she's a terrific person. So I wish them a lot of luck.
What I do know about
I love a love story.
What's her name? Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, I pronounced it wrong.
The President of the United States said as recently as December, I hate Taylor Swift. And 3 weeks ago he said, she's a woke singer who's not hot anymore because she's getting married. He's wishing a Catholic couple good wishes.
It's a love story. Everybody loves a love story. I mean, look, we might be slightly cynical about this, OK, but it is a happy story. It's a young woman finds the man of her dreams and they're getting married. Andrew, what's not to like?
But what's not to like? Who is he, by the way?
Huh?
Who is he?
He plays soccer.
Right.
He plays soccer. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. Any case.
Don't forget, we've got a Nigel Farage press conference coming up in Edinburgh later in our programme, so stay tuned for that.
That's live at 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock, we think, so you don't want to miss that. That is going to be after everything that happened yesterday and in all the newspapers today. That's going to be really exciting. Any case, we'd love to hear what you want to say about any of the stories we're especially Taylor. Yeah, just for Andrew. And you can send your views and post your comments visiting gbnews.com/your say. But first, let's get the 60-second news update with the wonderful Sam Francis.
Very good morning from the newsroom. The top story at 9:30. Ofgem has hiked the energy price cap by 2% from October, taking the typical annual bill to now £1,755. That's £35 more for the average household. The Energy Minister warns families are paying the fossil fuel penalty, promising support for vulnerable households this winter. The government is pushing for a permanent food and drink deal with the EU within 18 months. Labour says the deal will cut the cost for shoppers and help exporters. Reform UK and the Conservatives have hit back, warning Britain risks being entangled in EU law. Troubled Thames Water will pay £24.5 million of its record £122 million fines by September, after agreeing a payment plan with Ofwat. The company insists no customer bills will cover the penalties. And Donald Trump's 50% tariffs on India are now live, hitting exports and growth. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is promising tax cuts and urges citizens in India to buy and make in India to shield the economy. Charities are warning more than 6 million new cases of cancer could be diagnosed in England by 2040. That's one person every 2 minutes. Campaigners are calling on the government to act on early diagnosis and prevention measures to tackle the crisis. Those are the headlines this morning. I'll be back with a full roundup at 10.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Good morning and welcome to Britain's Newsroom. It is 9:35. OK, packed show coming up, including Nigel Farage at 11 o'clock, so you don't want to miss that one. But we're starting with the Taliban announcing they are ready and willing to work with Nigel Farage on the deportation of Afghan migrants.
And this is after Nigel Farage's speech yesterday where he said that they would pay, if necessary, the Taliban to take back migrants from Britain. Now, this has caused a furore because it's a terrorist organisation. But my point about this is this government, Labour government, pays around £150 million in aid to Afghanistan. Now, the money they would argue goes through United Nations agencies and food agencies. You're not telling me it doesn't end up in the Taliban coffers? Of course it does. So what's the difference?
It's £151 million a year, and it goes, let's be honest, it goes directly to the Taliban.
Of course it
doesn't go to charities in Afghanistan, it doesn't go to the starving people of Afghanistan, it really doesn't go to the women of Afghanistan. Let's hear what he said in any case.
The only way we will stop the boats is by detaining and deporting absolutely anyone that comes via that route.
OK, so I agree with most of what he said yesterday. I think a lot of people would do. I mean, he really is addressing people's worries in this country. However, dealing with the Taliban, are you completely comfortable with every aspect of that?
He made it clear that Afghan interpreters, people who'd helped Britain during the conflict in Afghanistan, by the way, she never invaded Afghanistan in the first place, that's another story, would be given asylum sanctuary. I'm not entirely comfortable, but the fact is they are one of the number of migrants coming here, and a lot of them shouldn't be coming here, so they have to go back.
That is true, and the Taliban...
And the Taliban are a part of life. We tried to get rid of them before, they got back immediately, they're there for good. We cannot impose our order, Western order, on every country.
I mean, the Americans have tried it, the Russians have tried it. I mean, that is what it is. And as we know, Afghans are the second biggest group of people coming over on the boats, most of which are young men, by the way. Deporting people back...
Long way to get here, too.
It is a long way. You might have crossed a couple of European countries.
Safe countries.
My point, though, is, Andrew, OK, deporting people back to Afghanistan, young men I have no problem with, but what if it's a young woman? Would you be happy to see a young woman deported back to Afghanistan?
I'd be happy if she didn't come here in the first place.
Well, no, absolutely, of course. I mean,
and I think we've got to have a deterrent, and this is the deterrent. There's no deterrent at the moment with Labour's plans. There was no deterrent under the Tories because the Rwanda plan never got off the ground. Literally, the planes never got off the ground.
Well, yeah.
So if that's the only way to stop these people flooding into Britain from Afghanistan, so be it, I'm afraid.
See, I think a lot of this is rhetoric as a deterrent to stop anybody coming. It's not that it will happen. I think it's rhetoric. Anyway, so let's find out what our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, makes of all of this. Catherine, good to see you this morning. OK, Nigel Farage, front page of the newspapers again. I think the Daily Mail in particular has got 6-7 pages on it. What do we make of it?
Yes, well, I was at the press conference. It was quite incredible, actually. They had what they thought was the UK's biggest Union Jack, 18 metres by 9, that he was standing in front of. They had these deportation boards, like you're in an airport, listing Eritrea, Sudan, Afghanistan, boarding at gate such and such. They are incredibly good at telling a story. And Tony Blair himself told the New Statesman that Nigel Farage is the best communicator in British politics, and he does have an incredible gift in connecting with where the public are and saying things that they want to hear. The front page of the Telegraph, the issue of sending people back to Afghanistan, and other countries with hideous regimes. Yes, he said, no, he's not comfortable about it, but the bottom line, he says, is basically we have to make a choice. We're not responsible for all of the world's ills.
Right, we're not.
We weren't responsible for the Taliban taking root in Afghanistan. You know, we were there for a long time, and they were sort of in the distance at that point. But he's saying we have to put British people first, and we've got to do that. We've got to stop people coming, and to do that, we've got to detain them in camps with basic facilities, food, accommodation, of course, but not free to roam around. And then we have to send them either back to where they came from, even if this is back to some terrible regime, or potentially to another country, Ascension Island or somewhere like that. And he says if we do this, that the boats would stop very quickly, because why would anybody in their right mind cross from France if you're going to get sent back? Of course, they'd have to pull out of all sorts of legal conventions, treaties. That would be difficult. It would be time-consuming. But look, he's making the political weather, because no sooner had he said this than at the lobby briefing at lunchtime, the Prime Minister's official spokesman didn't rule out Labour doing some sort of deal with Afghanistan or some of these other countries either.
Yeah, and you wonder now, Catherine, because I think the next polls will show a boost for reform. He's got. I mean, they'll be thrilled with the coverage in the newspapers. It's dominating the broadcast. You wonder now if Labour are going to start trying to play catch up. But difficult with a lawyer running the government. I've always said Starmer's more of a lawyer than a leader. He's not going to want to come out of the Human Rights Act. He's not going to want to come out of the European Court of Human Rights, which Farage said he's going to do. They're not even talking anymore, are they, about turning back the boats, which we knew they couldn't do. They've now got a proper legal solution.
I suspect they realised that that was not going to be possible. But look, there has been a shift, because last September, Nigel Farage told GB News that it was politically impossible for mass deportations. And when I asked him about that yesterday, he put the blame on Rupert Lowe. Of course, they fell out. He was a Reform MP. They fell out spectacularly at the end of last year, beginning of this. Now, Rupert Lowe picked that up, retweeted it, very upset about that. Elon Musk then retweeted that, and Elon Musk has said, unfortunately, the reality is that Farage will do almost nothing to protect Britain. That's had over 7 million views. So on the one hand, there'll be many people that think that this is horrendous, it's going too far. You'll have plenty of people thinking this is what's needed, might be got to implement, but then you've got other people thinking that actually it doesn't go even far enough.
I think the language he's using is the most proactive, positive I've ever heard a political leader make. As I was listening to Nigel's speech in the press conference, I thought, wow, he's really ratcheted up.
Which is exactly why your newspaper, the Daily Mail, finally a politician who gets it. Yeah. Who gets it, who's listening. The question, though, is, and I'm playing devil's advocate here slightly, is he getting it? Is he reflecting what people really, really think? Or is he driving that debate? Or is it a combination of both?
It's hard to tell. Yeah. I think it could be a bit of both. I suspect his movement on the idea of mass deportation, and although I think there would be huge public support for doing whatever's necessary to stop the boats, really deporting every person that is here illegally and maybe has been for many years, if they're in relationships, if they've had children, would be very difficult, be expensive. Is it possible? Also, I think you could potentially start to lose some public support there. I said to Richard Tice yesterday that this was radical and that it was hardcore, and he basically went, well, it's just what needs to be done. And Nigel Farage yesterday said, this is what normal countries do all over the world. His argument, and I mean, he did say too, which struck me, he said, when Tony Blair was in, if you came illegally, your feet wouldn't have touched the ground. We used to be much, much tougher, and that has slipped over many, many years.
Because of Blair's Human Rights Act, ironically, because you've got all these wretched lawyers getting in and saying, oh, the right to family life, they've got to stay here. But even this Labour government, we have seen on occasion, they take the press with them, camera crews with them, when they raid nail bars or clinics, places where there are illegal workers, and make a big virtue of it, and so they're arrested. We never know if they're deported, of course. I mean, one hopes they are, but we never know the end result. But so even this government has been trying to look tougher on illegal migration?
Well, they are trying to look tougher, and I've lost count of the number of announcements that they have made, and it's something I raised with the Prime Minister. I think it was back in September. I went to Rome with him. He was talking to Giorgia Meloni because they very successfully cracked down on migration, and I was talking about the pull factor of the fact you can disappear, you can work illegally, and they are trying to crack down on that, but they don't really have huge resources, do they? And also, they are saying we are deporting more people. Those numbers are up. They are removing more people, but a lot of them are going voluntarily. The people that have come and overstayed their visa. Exactly. In terms of people that have crossed on small boats, those numbers are pretty small. And, of course, the numbers of crossings are up 50%. So for all that their efforts are, you know, they're trying to do this, they're trying to do that, but at the moment, without a real deterrent, and I mean, yesterday the government were wanting to talk about the one in, one out. They say they've got 100 migrants ready to go back to France. They just can't really get the microphone because Nigel Farage has got the microphone.
And Mark White pointed out in his programme only yesterday, Catherine, 100 people ready to be deported. Ready to be deported, they haven't been deported.
No, exactly.
And how many have arrived here since the one in, one out was announced? 3,600. It's not one in, one out, it's thousands in.
And none out so far that we know about.
That's the truth. Why they ever called it one in, one out? The most stupid name for a policy.
And also, just one more thing, we know that the French government is in big trouble, may well collapse. Yes. One of the other things that the government has tried to do is get this action so the police intervene in shallow waters. That was to become law by the end of the year. It looks like that could now be in jeopardy with the political instability in France.
Catherine, thank you. I just want to read one message out, right? OK, this is to Luke. Good morning, Luke. Luke says, Dawn, you are not playing devil's advocate in the slightest. Do not go back on your words. How patronising you really are that you would like illegal female migrants to stay here. Well, look, I didn't say that. I was querying sending women back to Afghanistan where women have no rights. They are stoned to death. They are forced to live in... They're not allowed out. They have to be head to foot. They're not allowed to sing. They're not allowed to talk. And they are stoned to death if they are a rape victim. By the way, OK, on the illegal socks, that is not a place for a woman to be. That is all I'm talking about. Do you really want a young woman being sent back to that? Whether she's seriously... Send her back to France. I don't care. But I'm very, very worried about young women being sent back to literally stoned to death.
If they think they're going to be sent back to Afghanistan, they're not going to come
They're not going to come here in the first place. But how many Afghan women are coming here? They're not. It's the young men of fighting age coming over.
And then they bring the wife in.
Catherine's got a hand up. Catherine, you may talk.
Please, miss, can I say something? Zia Yusuf was asked about that specifically yesterday. Now, his figures, I haven't seen the figures. He says that in terms of Afghan women and children, in terms of all the people that are here illegally, they estimate to be about 2,000, so a very small number. I still think, as you say, there is a question of sending those people back. And I was talking to senior figures in Reform before and after, and they admit that issues around children and things like Afghan women, those are difficult.
There are going to be issues. So, Luke, I hope that answered your question, but do keep those messages coming in. We're always here to have a good debate. gbnews.com/your say. Still ahead, 500,000 more people have signed on since Labour came to power. A record 6.5 million getting out of work benefits.
And up next, are we heading for a winter of discontent? Millions of households are going to see their energy bills hiked by 2% from today. But first, here's some holiday summer forecast for you.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Northern parts of Europe are set to see widespread heavy showers. This could lead to some severe thunderstorms at times. But across Spain, Portugal, the Azores, the sunshine is here to stay. But it's really across parts of France, Germany, as we head towards Switzerland and Austria. Northern parts of Italy, we could see these quite intense showers. So thunderstorms, frequent lightning and also some large hail. But elsewhere across the Adriatic coastline, across parts of Greece, the sunshine once again here to stay, along with the warm temperatures.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Good morning, Graham. What's your view on the latest comments about the gender of the next James Bond? Should there be one?
Well, there obviously should be a James Bond, but it should never be a woman. I think this is something that was in the media and the press some years ago that's kind of been dragged up to a degree. It's a nonsense. It was a nonsense when it was first spoken about some years ago, and it's just as big a nonsense now. It needs to be a 6 foot tall, dark-haired, strapping, middle-aged guy. I say middle, I mean talking about 32.
Graham, like,
32 is quite young in my book.
Well, but I mean, look, Graham, what I say is that a lot of these. I mean, I know Amazon, I believe, have bought the rights to James Bond now. I mean, you've seen what they've done with some of their other shows. I'm not so convinced they're not going to go down this super woke, what I would call woke route. Is it? Do they really need to reinvent James Bond though? Because we've had so many iterations of him. They pretty much killed him off in the last movie. Do we need to reinvent the idea of James Bond, or should James Bond just retire? Should we say, actually, do you know what? We've had James Bond for almost 100 years. Actually, should we let this character rest for at least a bit of time, or maybe just retire the character before it gets destroyed by modern reinventions of it?
Well, I think there's always going to be a market. There's always going to be an audience for James Bond if those films are made the correct way. I mean, you've got a perfect blueprint. If you look at the Bond films in the 60s, and you follow that as a blueprint, you can't go wrong, because most of them are based on Ian Fleming, and it's the best Bond films are the ones that are based on Fleming's books quite closely.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Any rise in prices is obviously a concern for households and for businesses, but the truth is that the price of gas is still 75% higher than it was before the invasion of Ukraine, and we're still paying the price for that. That's the fossil fuel penalty of us being tied as a country far too closely to gas prices, and that's why as a government we're driving forward as fast as possible to remove that volatility of gas and to deliver clean, homegrown, secure power that will bring down bills, but also make sure that we're delivering on our energy security.
That's the Energy Minister Michael Shanks reacting to energy regulator Ofcom announcing the price cap will rise by 2% from October. That was announced this morning. Is this going to lead to a winter of discontent?
Yeah, well, there's lots of other things going on as well that are not helping. Coordinator for the End Fuel Poverty Coalition, Simon Francis, joins us now. Simon, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. It sounds like a very tiny percentage, but actually it means quite a bit. Can you tell us more?
Yeah, absolutely, because this still represents prices that are still way, way above what they were back in 2020. You know, it's almost £700 more than they were for the average household. And what we're really concerned about is the 12.1 million households in the UK who are already paying more than 10% of their household income just on their energy bills. For 5 million households, that's more than 20% of their income. And many of those people are people with young children, who are elderly, who have got disabilities, long-term health conditions, things that really mean that living in cold, damp homes, unable to heat your home, is actually a dangerous situation to be in.
And Labour would argue that, as perhaps the Tories did before, a lot of this is down to Ukraine, the war and Putin. Is that a fair criticism? Is that a fair observation, Simon?
It is to an extent. I mean, the price rises that we saw actually started the year before Putin invaded Ukraine. So, you know, this is why we sort of talk about the energy bills crisis having started in 2020 rather than after that invasion, because things were sort of going up already. And, you know, the minister was right to sort of point to the cost of gas. It is going up. It is double what it was. The standing charges alone on gas are going up 14% from October because of the ageing nature of the gas network. So we do need to move off that. It's also coming from a dying basin that by 2027, even if we approve new gas fields, we won't be producing enough gas to heat our homes domestically. We'll be reliant on imports, and that's only going to continue for the years ahead. So we do need to make these changes, but what we need to do is look at how they're paid for, how the investment is delivered, and how that's done as fairly as possible to households who've had 5 years now of really high bills and simply can't cope.
The warm home discount, is that going to make a big difference? That's part of the reason that we are all paying more for this. Is that really going to make a difference to those households that receive it?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a scheme that does help households, and it has been extended. We'd argued that actually there should be more households, especially those who are with disabled people at home, who should be getting it, because not all disabled people will receive that discount. But one of the things that we put forward to ministers is to look at how that's paid for. At the moment, as you say, it's being put onto energy bills, but there were alternatives put to ministers. So, for instance, it could have been paid for by a £4 billion windfall, which energy network firms had as a result of a regulatory decision, and Ofgem's decided not to claim that back, even though much of it has been used as excess profit for these firms, and that's what Citizens Advice found. So, there was an alternative. But the ministers, and Ofgem decided not to take it and have gone down the route of putting it on bills. And so that's what we're really talking about is, you need to look at everything that goes into the price cap and go, is this really the right place for this funding to be delivered, or is there a fairer way of doing it?
All right, Simon, that's Simon Francis from the End Fuel Poverty Coalition. Of course, a lot of pensioners will be getting their winter fuel allowance back.
Yes.
They lost it last time.
But didn't this government come in promising to get all the bills down?
They told us, Ed Miliband said they would cut fuel bills by £300 a year. They're now saying that might not be in this Parliament.
Right. Oh, the devil's in the details, isn't it? Always. OK, still ahead.
They didn't say that before the election.
No. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage will visit Scotland today, launching plan to deport illegal immigrants, and we'll hold another press conference.
We'll be there.
Yes, we will. Live. Don't want to miss it. See you soon.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M77 is congested northbound from Junction 7 to Junction 5. Drivers should allow extra travel time. On the M4 westbound at Junction 42 Earlswood, construction work closes the entry slip road with diversions in place. A road traffic incident on the A19 northbound entry slip from the A174 in Middlesbrough has one lane shut. Normal conditions are expected to resume by 10:30 this morning. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast is disrupted between Watford Junction and London Euston, with Great Western Railway using taxis between Twyford and Henley-on-Thames. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock on Wednesday, the 27th of August, live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Dawn Neeson.
So we heard tough talk, didn't we, from the Reform UK leader Nigel Farage.
You come to the UK illegally, you will be detained and deported and never, ever allowed to stay, period.
That was yesterday, and this morning the Taliban say they will welcome back Afghans booted out of Britain under Nigel Farage's mass deportation crackdown. But should he be negotiating with terrorists?
And breaking news today, the energy price cap is going to rise. Which is it going to cause from statistics? It's going to rise by 2%. The Energy Minister, Michael Shanks, says it's the right decision for the government to deliver clean power by 2030.
This isn't something we can achieve overnight. It's something we're moving faster than any government has in the past. It will have results, but it won't be something that we can change overnight.
As the price of energy rises, we're here at this hair salon in Bolton, which has seen their bills increase by 83% in the past few years. We're speaking to the owner a little bit later in the programme.
And Benefits Britain. The number of people on jobless benefits has hit a record 6.5 million after jumping by 500,000 under Labour. Are we a nation of scroungers?
Yes, the number of people on benefits has gone up by 500,000 since just last year when Keir Starmer took office. What effect will that have on public finances? And what effect, more importantly, will it have on you as the taxpayer at home?
Are we cosing up to the EU all over again? Labour's eyeing up a new agreement on food and drinks, which will, according to some, undermine Brexit yet again.
Oh, and Andrew is so excited by this story. The excitement in the studio is positively sizzling as pop superstar Taylor Swift announces her engagement to American football pro Travis Kelce. Even US President Donald Trump's talking about it.
Well, I wish him a lot of luck. I think he's a great player. I think he's a great guy, and I think that she's a terrific person. So I wish them a lot of luck.
You know what, I'm wondering what Nigel Farage thinks about our, what's the voice? The one that's got engaged, Taylor Swift.
At his press conference today, there won't be many questions asked about that. We certainly hope not. There'll be a lot of questions asked about, can he deliver getting rid of 600,000 migrants in 4 or 5 years, about the Taliban. But we've even had Downing Street, when pressed on this, saying we don't rule out dealing with anybody to get rid of illegal migrants, although I haven't noticed them getting rid of many.
Well, exactly. It's so many questions. I mean, the papers are full of it today. We are going to be live there with Nigel Farage.
He's had a huge success for that speech.
Well, it was a great speech. It was a great showman. It was, you know, the departure board was a brilliant stroke of genius. It was brilliant, and everybody's reacting to it. And it does make you wonder what Labour will do now. But we are going live to Nigel Farage in Scotland at 11 o'clock, so you really won't want to miss that. Lots of questions, including possibly about us seeing her getting engaged to a footballer. Who knows? In any case, let us know what you're thinking about everything we're talking about today by visiting gbnews.com/your say. But first, let's get the news headlines with Sam Francis.
Hello, very good morning to you from the newsroom. The top story this hour. Well, energy bills will rise by more than expected expected this autumn. Ofgem has increased the energy price cap by 2% from October, taking the typical annual bill to now £1,755. That's around £35 more than now. Forecasters had predicted, though, only a 1% rise. Ministers admit it will worry families, blaming wholesale gas prices still far higher than before Russia's war in Ukraine. Labour, though, says its plan will protect consumers with more support for households and investment in clean power. But they're accusing the Conservatives of leaving Britain exposed.
Any rise in prices is obviously a concern for households and for businesses, but the truth is that the price of gas is still 75% higher than it was before the invasion of Ukraine, and we're still paying the price for that. That's the fossil fuel penalty of us being tied as a country far too closely to gas prices, and that's why, as a government, we're driving forward as fast as possible to remove that volatility of gas and to deliver clean, homegrown, secure power that will bring down bills, but also make sure that we're delivering on our energy security.
The government says it wants a permanent food and drink deal with the EU within 18 months to keep costs down and reduce red tape. The current temporary agreement, which scrapped border checks on fruit, vegetables and some animal products, expires in January of 2027. Later, Cabinet Minister Nick Thomas-Symonds will accuse Nigel Farage of, quote, wanting Britain to fail, after the Reform leader called for the deal to be scrapped, warning it ties Britain back into Brussels' orbit. Labour, though, says locking in a long-term deal will protect jobs and keep prices lower, while critics argue it risks surrendering sovereignty. Well, breaking in the last half hour or so, the fertility rate in England and Wales, we now know, has fallen to its lowest level on record. New figures out this morning from the Office for National Statistics show women are now expected to have an average of just 1.41 children across their lifetimes. That's down from 1.42 last year and well below the 2.1 needed to keep the population stable without migration. Wales saw the sharpest decline. England's overall rate, though, held steady, and only London and the West Midlands recorded any increase at all. Thames Water has been given more time to pay its record £122 million fine. The troubled supplier was due to hand over the money last week, but Ofwat, the regulator, has agreed a payment plan with £24.5 million due by the end of September. The rest has been delayed until either a rescue financial deal is struck or the firm is placed into special administration. Regulators have set up 2030 as the backstop for remaining penalties. Thames Water, though, says the customers' bills will not be used to cover the fines, as it is continuing to seek a market-led bailout. International news, and Donald Trump's steep tariffs on India have come into force, hitting one of America's closest Indo-Pacific partners with a 50% levy. The move, punishment for Delhi's purchases of Russian oil and weapons, could hammer exports and growth in what is now the world's fifth largest economy. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is scrambling to soften the blow. He's promising a sweeping tax overhaul worth billions, including cuts to India's goods and services tax and fresh income tax breaks. And Guinness World Records is turning 70 and celebrating the grand age with a brand new challenge. First published in 1955, the famous book has sold more than 155 million copies worldwide after starting life as a way to settle pub arguments. To mark the milestone, Guinness World Records has unveiled 70 brand new unclaimed feats, from the fastest 400-metre sack race to the most whoopee cushions sat on in a minute. It's also launching an online tool to help people find the perfect record attempt as the search for the next generation of record breakers continues. Those are the latest headlines for now. Andrew, what do you say? Most whoopee cushions in a minute?
He's so naughty, Sam Francis.
What's that about whoopee cushion?
Just get on with it.
OK, all right. Hello and welcome. This is Britain's Newsroom, live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and his whoopee cushion and me, Dawn Neeson. Is that a whoopee cushion? Right, OK, sorry. I'm being told off now. I'm being told off by everyone this morning, aren't I? Lots of you getting in touch about our, obviously, the... Stop it, Sam Francis, honestly. It's like working with children here. OK, Mick on...
I can't believe you did that.
Pardon?
I can't believe you did that.
I know. It's not very professional, is it? It's any case, shall I get on with doing my job? Yeah, OK. OK, lots of you getting in touch about Nigel Farage's plans to negotiate with the Taliban. What do you say? Mick says, Dawn, Tony Blair negotiated with terrorists, so what's your problem? I don't have a problem with it per se. We're just discussing what happens to the women, and lots of you getting in touch on that point as well.
He let out a lot of IRA prisoners from our jails.
Yeah, and that always links into the ECHR as well. And Vanessa says, Dawn, there are lots of Muslim countries where women are treated like second-class citizens, are given lashes or executed. Absolutely there are. We cannot be responsible for the women across the Muslim world. It's up to other Muslim countries to help change the Sharia law in other countries. I don't see any uproar over the fact that Saudi Arabia still executes people. Well, you will from me, Vanessa. If there are women being abused around the world, I will talk about it and defend the rights of women and girls until I'm blue in the face, to be honest with you. And that includes the women and girls in this country who will always, in my world, come first. So just put that one to bed. But do keep those messages coming.
Women and girls come before men and boys?
Always. Yes, know your place. Right. You and your whoopee cushion. Any case, if you'd like to get in touch at gbnews.com/your say.
So the Taliban has announced, they've told the Daily Telegraph this morning, they're ready and willing to work with Nigel Farage on the deportation of Afghan illegal migrants.
So let's speak to Robert Clark, Afghanistan veteran and Telegraph columnist. OK, Robert, good to see you this morning. OK, there's a lot of debate about this. Of all the things Nigel Farage said yesterday, this is the one thing that has really got people talking. What do you make of it?
Well, it's understandable it's got a lot of people talking. It's quite controversial. I mean, it's important to acknowledge from the first instance that this is, you know, it's relevant. It's tapping into the British mood, returning failed asylum seekers and migrants. And it's understandable. The Afghan illegal asylum, community make up, I think, the largest proportion of failed asylum seekers by nationality. So these people have to be returned. I completely accept that. However, reforms sort of suggestion of doing a deal with the Taliban and Zia Yusuf in particular making quite dangerous remarks about making monetary sort of deals to incentivise the Taliban is actually deeply problematic and irresponsible. And to be fair, it actually borders being illegal as well under the Terrorism Act of financing or advocating finance for a prescribed terrorist organisation, which the Taliban are by the UK government. It's even more revealing, however, that Keir Starmer and Labour jumped on, predictably, the reform bandwagon to say, I think only an hour or two after this, that they were also considering this. I have no doubt in my mind that was only as a reaction to reform's sort of announcement yesterday. And this can't be taken seriously for a whole host of legal and ethical challenges.
Robert, what about the criticism, though, that the British government, a Labour government, is giving currently £151 million in aid to Afghanistan? Now, it will be funneled through various aid organisations such as the United Nations, but I am 99.9% recurring convinced that money gets into the hands of the Taliban. So we're not giving them a few £1,000s to take back a terrorist, we're giving them 150 million. And let's be honest, they are not using that to educate women and girls, are they?
Oh, no, I completely agree. These two, they're two separate issues, but I agree completely with your sentiments on that. I think there does need to be a different conversation regarding how aid money can be better used in Afghanistan. As you say, the money will go to people like the United Nations Food Programme, World Health Organization, things like this. But there is undoubtedly a portion of that money and aid that will get siphoned off by the Taliban. That is inevitable, just as it is with Hamas in Gaza. This is absolutely the case. But look, there's a better suggestion that nobody's really talking about, which is we leverage our immense trade. We have a £300 million trade deficit with Pakistan. And I think we supply about £130 million a year also in aid to Pakistan. We should be reverse engineering the already safe immigration routes from Afghanistan for things like the British interpreters. Where they go back to Pakistan, which should administer this refugee link in the first place. And then it's on the Pakistani government to, facilitate the return of failed asylum seekers back to Afghanistan. That's something that's not been taken seriously by a government who are already doing that refugee route for Afghans already. So we just reverse engineer that, and therefore we bypass the very tricky and borderline illegal process of dealing directly with the Taliban, a regime we absolutely should not be acknowledging, let alone dealing with.
Well, indeed, the British government does not recognise the Taliban, but nor does the German government, who last month very quietly began deporting illegal migrants back to Afghanistan. Why can Germany do it, but we have a problem?
Well, look, I think most people agree with me. Just because Germany propose a policy is no indication that we should be following just automatically. It's very problematic with the Germans as well. They have had deeply unpopular and highly controversial issues of Afghan asylum seekers, killing police officers. Not too dissimilar to the situation that we have in the UK at the minute with the sentiment around failed refugees and asylum seekers in the UK. But what Germany do is up to Germany, and I think the proof will be in the pudding. They're only deporting convicted criminals, I think 90 or so in the last year. And to be perfectly honest, these individuals are going to be susceptible to likely torture and extrajudicial back in Afghanistan precisely because of their crimes. Now, we're not suggesting that. We're suggesting sending back failed asylum seekers to Afghanistan. I agree we should be doing this, but the way in which we do it should not be incentivizing the Taliban or legitimizing their regime, which is currently conducting femicide against 50% of their own population.
Well, yeah, indeed, absolutely, as mentioned. Robert, thank you very much. That's Robert Clark, Afghanistan veteran and Telegraph columnist. Just want to read one comment out very quickly before we move on to Olivia Utley. This is a message from Andy. Hold on a minute, he says. Labour are going to recognise Hamas. Well, Labour have said they are going to recognise Palestine as a state which is currently controlled by Hamas,
yes, and
who are a recognised terrorist organisation.
Yeah,
good point.
And if they recognise Palestine as a state, you can almost be certain that Hamas would form part of that government.
Exactly. So it's like there's lots of hypocrisy going on here, isn't there?
Now, moving on, Labour swept to power, didn't they? Promising to get Britain working. Remember, Rachel Reeves talked about growth the whole time. She was going to create budgets for growth. Jobless benefits, though, have now hit a staggering record of we're paying to 6.5 million people.
Incredible. And that's 500,000 more since Sir Keir Starmer entered Downing Street. OK, someone who isn't work shy at the moment, definitely not, I can vouch for that one after the other day, is the brilliant GB News political correspondent Olivia Utley. Olivia, you never go home. I mean, you're certainly not work shy.
I have had 8 months off, so...
You were having a baby, I mean, to be fair. OK, so what's going on here this morning?
Well, I think it's worth just hammering home how enormous this number is. 6.5 million people. That's 27% of the working-age people in Blackpool, 25% of the working-age people in Manchester. Manchester is having a boom. There are lots of vacancies in Manchester. Similar sort of percentage in Liverpool. The amount of people on benefits, the amount of money that they are taking in benefits adds up to the income tax of the entire income tax of 9 million people in this country. That just shows the scale of the problem. And I think we quite often don't see the statistic. We don't see the numbers looking this high because of the way that the DWP managed to kind of massage the statistics, if you like. If you look at the headline number, the headline percentage of unemployed people in the UK, it's down at 4.4%. Hasn't really moved over the past decade or so. But that doesn't reflect the true picture because unemployment only counts for people on one specific type of benefits, unemployment benefits, whereas now the case is that most people are receiving universal credit or some kind of incapacity benefits. Now, there are all sorts of reasons for this. One of them, which we should mention first of all, is, of course, NHS waiting list, very, very long. Lots of people who genuinely aren't able to work because they are waiting for an operation, for example, and have been on a waiting list for a couple of years. But there are other, much more worrying reasons for this. One of them is Rachel Reeves's hike in national employer national insurance. So there are all sorts of employers who employ people generally on kind of minimum wage, companies whose margins are very, very small indeed, who are laying people off because they cannot afford. Hospitality, the care industry as well. Really huge impact on those industries. And we are now seeing a drop in the number of vacancies in this country. Every quarter, the number of vacancies is going down and down. The other reason that should be mentioned is the fact that this was actually a change that Jeremy Hunt brought in, although he now says that he regrets it. Mental health in this country is now treated exactly the same as physical health. So 44% of those 6.5 million people claiming benefits for sickness are claiming them because they have mental health problems. And the amount of money that you can get for claiming mental health problems on benefits, not suggesting, of course, that even the majority of people are doing this, but there will will be some people who are playing the system, and they are educated on how to play the system on social media. If you are claiming, for example, if you're a single parent with anxiety and you're claiming for yourself and your child with ADHD, you can receive up to £37,000 a year in benefits. Now, that is 14 grand above the minimum wage. And, of course, you won't be paying for childcare either because you're at home with your children. Telegraph did some really, really interesting research recently showing that if two parents on £50,000 each have two children in full-time childcare, they could be having less money after that than a couple who are on benefits. So for some people, it makes financial sense to stay on benefits. But, of course, it doesn't make financial sense for the country. And the taxes of ordinary working people are supporting these benefits. The question for Rachel Reeves is how long can this go on for?
And I'm afraid it does encourage the shirker.
It really does, and
the Tories were trying to get to grips with it. Ian Duncan-Smith was Work and Pension Secretary. He's written many papers about this. It does encourage the shirker because the benefit system you should not be better off on benefits than at work. It's just not right.
Yeah, the whole system.
£37,000.
That's astonishing. I didn't realise that.
That's an amazing figure.
I mean, it's fascinating.
That's way above the average wage, let alone the minimum wage.
And the government, the previous government and this government both claim that it is always better to be in work than on benefits. But that is only counting unemployment benefits, which is actually a very small fraction of the overall cost of benefits. If you can claim any kind of incapacity benefits, and there's a lot of research showing how easy it is to claim those incapacity benefits for mental health reasons specifically, then you are going to be better off. And of course, Keir Starmer tried to change this and ended up being thwarted by his own backbenchers. A very embarrassing U-turn. And now it looks like any reform to the really archaic and mad benefit system is going to be off the table for quite a long time.
Certainly is.
Oh, brilliant but frightening facts there. Thank you very much, Olivia Utley, indeed. And remember UB40, 1 in 10. I'm a 1 in 10. Do you remember that song?
Yeah, I do.
Absolutely. Well, 1 in 10 receive benefits from the state at the moment.
Amazing.
We are back there again. Any case, still ahead. Cabinet Minister Nick Thomas-Symonds is setting out his plan to renew the UK and US relationship. Are Labour cozying up to the EU once again? Up next, though.
Taylor Swift's got engaged.
You're so excited.
And
come on.
Everybody's gone crazy about it.
You are. It's just,
except me.
You're just glowing.
I don't think Olivia Utley's gone crazy about it. Have you gone crazy about it, Olivia?
Not gone too
crazy. Therapy, no.
You've been in tears. Come and stop denying it. This is Britain's Newsroom, Britain's favourite morning show on GB News. Don't go too far. We'll see you soon. Oh, God.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11 only on GB News.
And with a dynastic touch, George Martin's son, Giles Martin, is involved in all of this.
Yes, so he's the keeper of his father's flame, really, which is very touching.
It's very, very touching. How can it be? I mean, we've been talking about a band here that was playing before we were able to send pictures across the Atlantic. How can a band that is that old cause such excitement today?
Well, it's such a number of elements. They encapsulated so much of the early 20th century music. Fats Domino, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Tim Panally through Paul McCartney's father. He grew up hearing his father playing the piano. He had a big jazz band. They played around Liverpool. So all of that music went into the Beatles' crucible. And I find it so interesting that you know, Decca get ribbed for turning them down. But those early sessions are not showing them at their best. And they say guitar bands are on their way out, but actually it took the Beatles to bring them back and show everybody a completely different scene, a completely different imagination of what guitar music can be. It took the Beatles 3 albums to really get into their stride, because their first 2, let's not forget, were sort of covers in a way. So there's a few of their own songs in there,
but a lot of covers.
But with Hard Day's Night, it's all their own tracks. And what can I say? the energy of them, the invention of them. When you watch Get Back, you see how much craftsmanship they put into constructing a completely unique song. That's the thing about the Beatles. Each song is so unique. There's no replication in any of their output.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
And the time is 10:24, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Dawn, and we've got them here.
We have, but we've got to do something very important first.
I didn't think we were doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, are we?
Yeah, we are. We're going to make you very happy. It's the final week to see how you could live the next year, mortgage or rent-free, with an additional £5,000 in your bank account. Or if you don't have those payments, lucky you, you could end up with £15,000 in tax-free cash. Well,
nice.
At the moment it's tax-free, but don't hold your breath. Here's all the details you need.
There's just 2 days left to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you, we'll give you £15,000 tax-free cash instead. Hurry, lines close this Friday. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck. OK, the favourite bit of the day, we are joined by Mike Parry and former Labour MP Stephen Pound to go through what the newspapers are saying today. Boys, who wants to start?
Right, well, I've had an interesting and singular thought. Now that Nigel Farage has announced this 4 years ahead of the next election, does it mean even more pressure is going to come up on the Labour government?
Oh, yeah.
Because the smugglers will now say, we've only got 4 years to fill up the United Kingdom. The figures are going to go up and up and up, put more pressure on Keir Starmer to actually do something to stop them coming. Is that a fair
There's a fair bit of
assessment?
evidence already, that the government is actually doing a bit of reverse ferret on this anyway, because of the pressure that's coming on. Look, this is an unprecedented situation we have in this country.
Yeah, they're doing nothing.
What reverse ferret?
Yeah, no, the government, instead of actually attacking Farage and saying that everything he talks about is unsustainable, impossible, they're actually saying, well, maybe we can talk about this, maybe we can talk about that.
The minister on the broadcast around this morning said it's pie in the sky, unrealistic.
Well, hang on a second.
Except Starmer is saying we might do deals with the Taliban. He's been forced into all sorts of corners.
Andrew, I mean, the idea of 5 flights a day and flights going to Eritrea and to Afghanistan and Tehran. I mean, come on. You're not going to have... Do we think Kabul airport's going to have 5 flights of deportees from this country?
They'll deport them to other countries.
Of course they will.
Though you say...
I know. Look where most of the people are coming from. Don't forget, we've choked off the Albanian problem. 95% reduction in the number of Albanians coming to this country since we quietly and properly and efficiently...
The Tories did that. Nothing to do with your lot.
Well, I'm sorry. We've deported over 13,000. I mean, it's incredible figures. But the thing is, we've dealt with Albania. What we haven't dealt with is Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq. How are we going to get flights going to Tehran?
But that's all technical. That's all technical.
Saying, come on down.
Don't you think Farage yesterday made the speech of speeches? I haven't seen a politician perform like that. The stagecraft of the man. Haven't seen anybody perform that for 30 years. He has literally gripped the attention of the nation on the biggest problem that everybody in this country is worrying about. That is fantastic political skill.
And you can have a great speaker, but I mean, Neil Kinnock was one of the finest speakers I've ever known in my life. he could actually capture a remote.
But he was a windbag. He was a windbag. Farage is not a windbag. Wouldn't it be lovely if we had?
You're better than that.
Wouldn't it be lovely if we had Farage as Prime Minister here at the same time as we've got Trump, the President of the United States? You'd then have a Thatcher-Reagan bond like we had in those days, wouldn't you? You would then have a resilient, powerful Western world fighting back. But I tell you what, for the first time in a long time, including 14 years of Tories, I feel very optimistic about the future of this country because Farage has stirred the conscience of the nation and got us all to open our eyes and see what the threat is to our societies, to our nation, and we're fighting back.
Where is it going to go? I mean, the thing about 4 years' time, Trump won't be in the White House, thanks be to God. But so you're not going to have that Thatcher rage and loving.
That's what I said. What a shame.
Yeah, well, OK. But the reality is that at the moment, Farage is actually talking up the situation. I still don't honestly... I mean, I'll give you credit for his speech. It actually held the room. No question about that. However, a lot of it was actually bombast and empty promises.
Well, why'd you say that? Why'd you say they're empty promises?
5 flights a day. Look, do you honestly think this country can cope with the idea of children?
But you're the guy who said Rwanda was bombast. Rwanda would have worked, and now you're talking down another situation.
He's going to take us. He's going to take us out of that ridiculous Human Rights Act. So that
1951.
The refugee,
Absolutely.
and also the ECHR,
Andrew,
at long last. Why should lawyers and human rights lawyers determine who can and can't
issue with ECHR. The problem is British lawyers using British laws.
Stop the flight to Rwanda.
It's the interpretation by British lawyers, and particularly immigration judges and immigration tribunal judges, who, quite frankly, are a disgrace in many cases. And I've taken so many cases to them, and I've seen the ludicrousy. Somebody's suffering from vertigo, or they got they hiccups, or they can't, or they don't like chicken nuggets. It's insane. That's nothing to do with ECHR. It's to do with our own interpretation of English, British law.
But he says he will scrap our human rights bill introduced by Tony Blair and replace it with something which is common sense to us. By the way, Kemi Badenoch is finished, isn't she, after that speech yesterday? Because all she can say afterwards is, oh, they're stealing our ideas. Well, why didn't you tell us?
Me too. The Tories have not said they'll come out of the ECHR. They have not said they'll scrap the Human Rights Act.
She takes on James Cleverly, who's pointedly not said we're coming out of the ECHR, and who called the Rwanda situation...
Don't use the word...
useless.
But, I get into trouble for using profanity on this programme.
Yes,
don't do that. Don't do that. No.
He's not allowed.
No, he's not allowed.
I think it was also terribly clever yesterday of Nigel Farage to encourage anybody, no matter what constituency they live in, to start lobbying their own MPs to support his ideas. That will undoubtedly happen.
And this will be a major deterrent, and that's what we need, because there's nothing to stop these people crossing the channel at the moment. Nothing
I think actually, Mike has, for once, made a very telling point. The idea is that it could actually be, travel now, because in 4 years' time...
Exactly. Exactly.
I hate to give you credit.
Yes, but that will just exacerbate the problem and put more pressure on Starmer to have to actually do something.
And what will lawyer Starmer do? Because he's certainly went out like a leader.
But I think the other problem we've got is we've actually got a good deal with France, which is about to collapse because the French government and Beru is about to lose.
You're absolutely right. Exactly.
Who could have anticipated that? I mean, are we an unlucky government?
Well, did you see Zia Youssef yesterday as well? There's the chairman now of...
as of today,
yeah, that's right. He actually, put his contribution in and revealed that there could be as many as 1 million unknown illegal immigrants in this country. The numbers are just completely out of control.
That's the story. That at the time of the Brexit vote, they said, we could have people from Turkey flooding in here. You always come up with these alarmist figures. You honestly think you're going to get 1 million people coming across the beach at Dover? That's
No. They could already be here. That's
on
the point he's making.
Gentlemen, we're going to call a halt there.
Can we go back to Taylor Swift?
What we're really going to ask you
next time
return is your view on Taylor Swift's nuptials to a footballer.
I can't understand why a woman worth $1 million and I haven't been spotted.
Let's just shake it off.
Mike's still waiting.
Oh!
What does it mean, this shake it off? Is that one of her songs?
It's one of her songs.
It's the one that everybody knows.
Oh, by the way,
you know it.
No, every Taylor Swift song sounds the same. Look, I'm not knocking her. She's very successful, but all the songs sound the same. So it doesn't really matter what the title is.
She wears high heels, I wear sneakers. She's a cheer captain, I'm in the bleachers. It's poetry.
How do you know all this?
Well, that's weird. Frankly, that is weird.
She's brilliant.
Is this how you spend your spare time, listening to Taylor Swift records? It's another side of you, Mr. Pound.
Well, thank heavens we're not on air.
We are.
Oh, gosh, we are. But not for much longer. You two are back in the next... I can't wait already. But
60-second news update with Sam
Francis. Bring some sanity.
Very good morning to you. The top story just after 10:30. Ofgem has hiked the energy price cap by 2% from October, taking the typical annual bill to now £1,755. That's £35 more for the average household. The Energy Minister says families are paying a fossil fuel penalty.
Truth is that the price of gas is still 75% higher than it was before the invasion of Ukraine, and we're still paying the price for that. That's the fossil fuel penalty of us being tied as a country.
Government is pushing for a permanent food and drink deal with the EU within 18 months.
Borders, bills, jobs. That is the kind of strategic partnership we need.
Labour says the deal will cut costs for shoppers and help exporters, but Reform UK and the Conservatives have hit back. They're warning Britain risks being entangled in EU law and losing sovereignty. Troubled Thames Water will pay £24.5 million of its record £122 million in fines by September. It's after they agreed a payment plan with Ofwat. Donald Trump's 50% tariffs on India are now live, hitting exports and growth. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is promising tax cuts and urges citizens to buy and make in India to shield the economy. And charities are warning more than 6 million cases of cancer could be diagnosed in England by 2040. That's one person every 2 minutes. Campaigners are calling on the government to act on early diagnosis and prevention measures to tackle the crisis. Those are the headlines for now. I'll be back at the top of the hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thanks very much, Sam. Still ahead, we'll hear from Reform UK leader Nigel Farage, who is in Scotland today, 24 hours after launching that blistering plan to deport illegal migrants. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News. We'll see you very soon.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Some heavy, possibly thundery showers drifting their way eastwards through the course of the morning, and temperatures starting to return more towards average for the time of year, but always feeling warm in the sunshine across the east. A very different story across western areas, though. Some quite heavy and intense downpours slowly drifting their way eastwards, so expect some quite strong gusty winds, some intense outbreaks of rain, and possibly some thunder and lightning as this drifts its way eastwards across the country. So quite a damp start to the day, quite a damp start moving into the afternoon across eastern areas, and feeling quite blustery across the west too, but where we see any sunshine, still feeling fairly warm, highs reaching around 23 degrees Celsius across the southeast. Then to end the day across Scotland, once again, further heavy bands of showers drifting their way through, turning quite blustery around coastal areas as this does so. Once again, another cloudy end to the day across Northern Ireland, but we should start to see some brighter skies drift in from the northwest. Similar across Wales, parts of Devon and Cornwall too. Start to see some sunshine, but still, yes, the risk of the odd shower. But the most intense showers eventually clearing their way across eastern areas. And for a time, it leads to a largely dry night across much of England and Wales. Clearer skies, so it is going to be feeling that little bit cooler than of late. But across the west, once again, further clouds starting to drift their way in, further heavy and intense showers as we head towards dawn across western areas. So a little bit milder still under cloudier skies, but where we see those clearer skies, it is going to feel a little bit of a cooler start to the day compared to what we've had earlier in the week. Once again, through Thursday morning, we're still set to see plenty of showers drift their way in from the west, these turning heavy and blustery at times. The best of the brightness across the very far east and southeast, but even here we could start to see some showers into the afternoon. Temperatures returning to more average for the time of year, highs reaching around 22 to 23 degrees Celsius. Bye-bye.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M4 westbound at junction 42 in Earlswood remains closed due to ongoing construction work on the entry slip road, and diversions are currently in place. Drivers on the M74 are experiencing significant restrictions at junction 17 caused by a broken down vehicle, so allowing extra travel time is advisable. On the trains, Travellers with Avanti West Coast should expect serious disruptions between Watford Junction and London Euston, while those using Great Western Railway will find taxis replacing trains between Twyford and Henley-on-Thames. Stay up to date at gbnews.com for more travel news.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Love these moments of discovery and beauty. So let's be curious together. Do you know who doesn't like lobster?
Who?
My husband.
And you'll marry him?
Oh, yuck. Meghan Markle's Netflix show With Love, Meghan returns for its second series. And can I tell you something? I'm not going to watch it.
You're absolutely surrounded by women you adore this morning, aren't you? Obviously me.
She's very upset that she had to wear skin-coloured pantyhose when she was a member of the royal family.
Why do men use that word pantyhose? You're American. She's got an excuse. It's just such a horrible word. Just call them ties.
Why did she have to wear ties? Why couldn't she wear stockings?
I'm not going to go... You know where the stockings conversation gets you on here. But, I mean, it's a win double. You've got Meghan Markle, you've got Taylor Swift, you've got me instead of Bev. I mean, you really are...
Two American women. Nothing against American women, honestly.
Any case, back to the story we're talking about. The new 8-part series offers recipes, style tips and candid chats with celebrity guests. I'm reading it seriously.
Apparently she makes her own salt and vinegar crisps. Just buy them, love.
It's not the point of the show. Any case, let me finish. It's really important. Yes, celebrity guests, including Chrissy Teigen.
Never heard of her.
John Legend.
Never heard of him.
And Tan France.
Never heard of him or her.
That person either. Oh, God. Is this making the Duchess more relatable, or is it just painful watching, though? Joined by someone who can talk sensibly about this.
Somebody who's watched it.
Yeah, well, that would help, wouldn't it? Yeah. We're joined now by TV presenter and entertainment reporter Ellen Coughlin and royal biographer and commentator Angela Levin. Ellen, sell this to me. I haven't watched it, full confession. Why should I watch this?
If you're not a Meghan fan, I would go ahead and say don't watch it. Right. Just because what's the point of watching something that is going to drive rage inside you? It's quite a niche programme. It's a cooking show, it's a lifestyle show, it's quite airy-fairy and it's wholesome. It's easy, calm watching, and it's not put out there for people who don't like Meghan to watch. It's put out there for her fans to watch and people who like cooking shows. Just like I'm not going to turn on Netflix in the evening and watch Formula 1 because that's not my bag. So don't watch it if you're not a Meghan fan because it will. You're not going to like it.
Angela Levin, it's not put out there for that. It's put out there because she needs the money. Are you with us, Angela? I was going to put that to Angela. I'm saying it's put out there because Meghan Markle needs the money.
I think she needs attention, and the more attention she gets via television or anything she does wrong, she gets into the papers. As long as she's in the public eye, that's what matters. Money, she can work out all sorts of things, frankly, and she's got Harry there. She can keep on taking money from him. He's just asked for £17 million, actually. But we won't go on with that. I think it's just that she definitely needs publicity and she definitely needs people to tell her she's wonderful. It was very, very stodgy, actually. You could see that she was really nervous. I watched the whole lot, by the way, every single moment of it. And anybody who came, I think that they were given the rules as they came in. One is they had to laugh. Each of these people who came in burst out laughing. You know, what's the joke? No idea. They also had to hug. Meghan likes hugs. She made a great anger about that the British people don't like hugs. She likes hug, and they have to say something about how wonderful it is to be with you. So got a bit bored with this. Each one does exactly the same. But that's how she did it. But also, she did a very strange thing. She talked to most of us as if we were tiny tots. You know, she told us how to work out a small case. She told us how to draw lines on the top of paper that would be straight. And she told us what a menu is and all that sort of thing. You thought, what are you doing? And mostly what she did, she cooked on a slice of bread, different things, but it was bread. That's it. Lots and lots of bread. And she brought out these flour sprinkles again, which was absolutely extraordinary. Spread all over the place. There we are.
Ellen, if I can bring you in here, what struck me about what I've read about it, she's only got fame because she's married to Prince Harry. Where was he? Not in it at all.
I would disagree that she's only got fame because she's married to Prince Harry.
On. I'd never heard of her till she started dating Prince Harry. I'd never heard of Suits either.
But that's you. I was a massive Suits fan, and so were millions of other people around the world. Yes, they were. Yeah, believe it or not, we still watch Suits on repeat now. It's a very good show, actually. Maybe you should tune in. It's very good. But she definitely didn't become famous because of Prince Harry. She was famous in her own right. She was also UN ambassador for women's rights around the world. So she was a philanthropist before she met him. She was actually the perfect princess, and actually the royal family fumbled a small bit there by not keeping her in the royal fold, because she would have done incredible things with them. But I'm sure she has a lot more freedom now on the outside, like making her own TV shows. I disagree that people were forced to hug her and all of that. I'm not sure where you got that information from. Americans are like that. They're quite open. And she comes across like a really genuine, chatty, happy person. She probably naturally goes in for a hug, just like I do when my friends and family come to my house. So, yeah, I don't know where you got the information that she was asking people or forcing people to hug her on arrival.
Ellen, can I just say that is a little bit fake, isn't it? It's not real. It's not even her own kitchen. Yeah. So it follows on from all the things she has done in the past, where maybe what we're seeing and what she's saying isn't necessarily reality.
Well, this is actually standard for cooking shows. Nobody cooks in their own kitchen. It's a set. So if she was to cook in her own kitchen, she'd have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old running around her feet. It would be chaos. Harry'd be coming in to make his breakfast in the morning. So I don't think anybody expected her to actually be cooking and making a Netflix series in her own kitchen. But it's quite near their house. So yeah, that is just complete industry standards to do it that way. It's not fake at all. I can understand why the British press see it as inauthentic, because it is very Americanized television. So it's not something that we're used to seeing. It's curated, and but it's made to be like that. The production is like that. If you've watched any sort of Martha Stewart cooking shows, they are very curated. That's just the way they are. But nobody's forcing anybody to watch the series. She's put it out there for people who like her, fans. And if you go by the last series, it's got 5.4 million viewers in its first week. It was the top of 5 Netflix show for half of 2025. So regardless what the British press think of Meghan and think of her shows, the viewing figures do not lie.
OK, fair point. Well made. Helen Coughlin and Angela Levin, thank you very much for that. You're still not convinced, are you? Still not going to watch?
She is famous for one reason. She's married to Prince Harry. Yeah. Married to the royal family. A wedding that was watched worldwide by millions and tens of millions of people.
Well, you're not going to sprinkle flowers on your toast in the morning, then?
No.
Oh, I think I might give it a try. I
think she's ridiculous.
Any case, we move on. Up next, our rising energy price is going to fuel a winter of discontent. Bills are going up by 2% in October. Stick with us on GB News. And we've got Nigel Farage coming up as well.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Northern parts of Europe are set to see widespread heavy showers. This could lead to some severe thunderstorms at times. But across Spain, Portugal, the Azores, the sunshine is here to stay. But it's really across parts of France, Germany, as we head towards Switzerland and Austria. Northern parts of Italy, we could see these quite intense showers. So thunderstorms, frequent lightning and also some large hail. But elsewhere across the Adriatic coastline, across parts of Greece, the sunshine once again here to stay, along with the warm temperatures.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Hello, welcome back. It is 10 to 11 and this is Britain's Newsroom on GB News. Now, what are people doing in Spain at the moment, Andrew?
Well, it's very odd because literally thousands are currently painting the town red in a place called Bunol in Spain. Tomatoes literally are being flung around to mark the 80th anniversary of Spain's Tomatina tomato street bar, which is apparently very famous in Spain.
Right, OK, and these are live pictures, I think. Yeah, absolutely. And there are lots of, if you're listening on the radio, it's lots of people who aren't actually throwing tomatoes at one another as we speak. They're just standing there poised.
They're jumping up. They appear to be dancing.
Yes, maybe they're dancing.
They're getting ready to throw tomatoes. Can I just say, couldn't they do something more useful with tomatoes, like make some tomato soup?
Well, we were just reminiscing about when we were kids, right? And it was like, you know, if you don't eat your dinner, you'll not move from the table. There are people starving in this world, and they're just chucking tomatoes around.
It was Biafra when we were kids. Remember?
It was, yeah, I remember. Yeah, go and send that food to Biafra, Mum. It was horrible as it is. Sorry, Mum. Any case, let's move on, shall we?
So that's a very pointless image, wasn't it?
It might get exciting later on. Any case. And the energy regulator Ofgem has announced the price cap will rise by 2% from October. That broke this morning. That's news. So let's speak to GB News North West reporter Sophie Reaper. Sophie, how's this news going down where you are?
Well, good morning to you both. Well, the thing is, Dawn and Andrew, we're speaking to businesses today. Now, the energy price cap itself actually impacts households, but as that goes up, so does the price of our gas, and that means our businesses are also directly affected. So I'm joined now by April, who's the owner of this salon here in Bolton. April, just talk to me a bit about, obviously, in a hair salon, you're using a lot of electricity and gas every single day. So talk to me a bit about that and how that's impacting you when the cost goes up.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that obviously people don't think about in a salon that we can't do without, and we can minimise that to help reduce our costs. I mean, in the last 6 years, my costs have gone up, gas and electric wise, by 83%, which is very, very hefty. And we've only been able to slightly increase the prices of the hair and the nails. So that will affect us massively if it goes up even more, especially because clients might not want that luxury anymore of coming to the salon. I mean, I know it's probably only going up for them maybe £40 a year, but that's a haircut, that's a set of nails, that's a massage. And for some people, they don't need that. You know, that's something they can quite easily cut out. You can't cut out going to the dentist, but you can cut out a massage. So I think that will affect us quite heavily.
Now, I know a lot of the girls who work here at the salon are actually self-employed, aren't they? So when it comes to things like energy bills, you would either have to face that yourself or you would have to put up their bills, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. So for the last sort of 6 years, I've only put up theirs once, but it's, you know, so it's on me, really.
April, thank you so much for joining us. There we are, difficult for households and difficult for our businesses. Not good news for anyone today.
Indeed.
Certainly isn't.
Thank you very much, Sophie Rupert.
I just want to remind people, Ed Miliband did tell us in the run-up to general election that Labour was going to cut energy bills by £300 a year.
Exactly.
Another breaking problem.
We're all much better off. Any case, coming up next, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage will hold a press conference in Scotland 24 hours after that dramatic thing yesterday. OK, after the weather, I think? Weather? Yes.
And we'll be there for the press conference.
We will.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Some heavy, possibly thundery showers drifting their way eastwards through the course of the morning, and temperatures starting to return more towards average for the time of year, but always feeling warm in the sunshine across the east. A very different story across western areas, though. Some quite heavy and intense downpours slowly drifting their way eastwards, so expect some quite strong gusty winds, some intense outbreaks of rain, and possibly some thunder and lightning as this drifts its way eastwards across the country. So quite a damp start to the day, quite a damp start moving into the afternoon across eastern areas, and feeling quite blustery across the west too, but where we see any sunshine, still feeling fairly warm. Highs reaching around 23 degrees Celsius across the southeast. Then to end the day across Scotland, once again, further heavy bands of showers drifting their way through, turning quite blustery around coastal areas as this does so. Once again, another cloudy end to the day across Northern Ireland, but we should start to see some brighter skies drift in from the northwest. Similar across Wales, parts of Devon and Cornwall too. Start to see some sunshine, but still, yes, the risk of the odd shower. But the most intense showers eventually clearing their way across eastern areas. And for a time, it leads to a largely dry night across much of England and Wales. Clearer skies, so it is going to be feeling that little bit cooler than of late. But across the west, once again, further clouds starting to drift their way in, further heavy and intense showers as we head towards dawn across western areas. So a little bit milder still under cloudier skies, but where we see those clearer skies, it is going to feel a little bit of a cooler start to the day compared to what we've had earlier in the week. Once again, through Thursday morning, we're still set to see plenty of showers drift their way in from the west, these turning heavy and blustery at times. The best of the brightness across the very far east and southeast, but even here we could start to see some showers into the afternoon. Temperatures returning to more average for the time of year, highs reaching around 22 to 23 degrees Celsius. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
It's 11 o'clock on Wednesday, the 27th of August, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Dawn Neeson.
Well done, Andrew. Your stories this hour. Tough talk from Reform UK leader Nigel Farage.
You come to the UK illegally, you will be detained and deported and never, ever allowed to stay. Period.
And today, the Taliban have said they'll welcome back Afghans kicked out of Britain under Nigel Farage's mass deportation crackdown. We're going to hear from Nigel Farage any moment now.
Indeed. The other big story this morning, the energy price cap rises by 2%. Energy Minister Michael Shanks stands by the government's mission to deliver clean power by 2030.
This isn't something we can achieve overnight. It's something we're moving faster than any government has in the past. It will have results, but it won't be something that we can change overnight.
Are we cosing up to the EU? Labour eyes up a new agreement on food and drinks, undermined in Brexit. Yes, again. Cabinet Office Minister Nick Thomas-Symonds said this about Farage and renewing relations with the EU.
Nigel Farage can't bring himself to have any relationship with the EU. Unable to recognise what is actually the best choice for families across Britain. But also because Nigel Farage wants Britain to fail. His model of politics depends on it.
Benefits Britain. The number of people on jobless benefits has hit a record 6.5 million, and it's risen by 500,000 under the Labour government. A nation of scroungers or shirkers, or more health aware.
Yes, unemployment is creeping up in the UK, with a quarter of the working age population in some of Britain's biggest cities now on benefits. Why is it happening, and what can be done to reverse the trend? Find out more with me very soon.
Yeah. And we're going to cross live now to the Reform UK press conference in Edinburgh, where Nigel Farage is speaking.
The result we got pretty much stunned everybody, including, to some extent, myself. Ross was a great candidate, but we did, I think, in a very short space of time, with relatively limited resources, achieve a remarkable result. And we are, as a party, getting ready for the Scottish Parliament elections next year. We've just had a very big weekend with 200 potential candidates who've come forward, who are going through interviews, who are going through vetting, and we will be taking those elections next year very seriously indeed. And I think our opponents might take us quite seriously as well. Now, you might have noticed that yesterday I did a little press conference at Oxford Airport, which seems to have attracted quite a bit of attention, and is now, it seems to be bringing quite a degree of division within the Labour government itself. You know, firstly, Jack Straw, who was the Home Secretary at a time when we did face a problem with illegal immigration. In those days, it was people basically coming in the backs of lorries. Jack Straw saying we should effectively disapply ECHR. And interestingly, this morning, of all people, Jack Straw, who was one of the architects of the Human Rights Act in 1998, now saying it was never intended to be used in the way that it currently is by British judges. So I do think what we did yesterday was to spark a much bigger national debate about how we end illegal immigration, how we control our borders. I know this has not been a particularly massive topic in Scottish politics. I'm not here to dwell on that issue today, but I have a sense that maybe it will become a bigger debate in Scottish politics, given that Glasgow now is the asylum capital of the United Kingdom, with nearly 4,000 people who came to Britain illegally housed in Glasgow. That's 50% more than the next highest place in the United Kingdom, which is Birmingham. 50% more. And I would have thought that if you were a family on the social housing waiting list in Glasgow, you might be beginning to think this is something that perhaps ought to be discussed. And accordingly, we have seen a rise in certain types of crime in Glasgow over the last couple of years, coinciding with the placement of thousands of young, undocumented males from cultures in which women aren't even second-class citizens. So I think that will be more of a debate in Scotland as time goes on. But the intention of today's press conference is, and it's part of showing you how seriously we are taking the Scottish Parliament elections. It's for me to introduce Graham Simpson, MSP. He's been in the Parliament since 2017 for Central Scotland. He, of course, has been a Conservative, but I understand, Graham, that may be about to change. So please, it's all yours.
Well, thanks very much, Nigel. Last night I was asked to send Nigel's team my CV, or a bit of a biog. What I left out of that was that I'm a member of the cross-party group on beer and pubs, and I thought you'd like that, and we often do visit breweries and pubs, mainly in the Edinburgh area. So I know you perhaps didn't have a good experience in an Edinburgh pub a few years ago, but maybe we can maybe we can change that at some point, Nigel. Now, it's fair to say that some of you won't be surprised to see me here, given that the Scottish Tories have been touting my name as a potential defector for months now. So today I'm giving them what they want, but perhaps not for the reasons that they think. Leaving the party that I first joined when I was 15 is an enormous wrench, and I've been through a lot of soul searching in the past few weeks. I've written to Russell Finlay, resigning from the Scottish Conservatives, but frankly the letter is not worth sharing, because besides saying that I'm off, the only other thing it says is to wish him all the best for the future. And I mean that on a personal level. When Murdo Fraser first stood for the leadership of the Scottish Conservatives in 2011, he did so suggesting that we needed a new centre-right party in Scotland, and I agreed at that time with that analysis. But the independence referendum came along, and all such talk went away. The referendum was a gift to the Tories, and with that, and with the threat of such upheaval gone, I think their electoral hopes are diminishing fast. To be honest, and I think you all know this, the constitutional battle has got in the way of good government and good opposition here. We have neither. But with a new kid on the block, Reform, the kind of centre-right party envisaged all those years ago, we can at least have one of those. Now, I've been thinking about my future for some time. I decided a few months ago that I would not be standing for the Scottish Conservatives again, and others
have taken the same decision. I told the party that at the end of May, but with the Hamilton by-election looming, where Ross did very, very well, I promised not to say anything. I've not stuck out a press release or said anything on social media. I honestly thought the most likely scenario for me would be to move on to the next stage of my life and find a job in one of the sectors that really interests me, such as housing or transport. And although finding a job may not have been easy, I think I have enough respect out there to have got something that would have excited me. But I've watched reform with interest, and I see the opportunity to help to create something fresh here in Scotland. And it's clear that the voters agree in increasing numbers. But just because a party is becoming popular isn't a reason to join it. Keeping your job in Parliament isn't a good enough reason either. I've only reached the decision that I have in the past few weeks, and I mean over the summer, and it's not been easy. It really has not been easy. I first joined the Conservatives when I was at school. Just before Mrs Thatcher came to power, I left politics for a career in journalism, but then rejoined and have been a councillor and an MSP. So I'm really very fortunate. I know what a Conservative is, and I actually wrote about it last year, just to remind some people. The election next year here in Scotland is going to see a very different Parliament from the one we have now, which is stale and very often uninspiring. Too many people feel let down and ignored. They feel the system is against them, that the traditional parties don't even care about them. Save for some fine individual MSPs across parties, the political class is not serving the people well. Failure is accepted and change takes far too long. And I'll give you a couple of examples personally of that. Thousands of people living in tenements often face real difficulties when it comes to maintaining their buildings. In the last session of Parliament, March 2018 to be exact, a group of MSPs from across the divide formed a working group to see how we could address the challenges, and we came up with some proposals. But it will be the next Parliament until we see any legislative change, so probably at least 10 years since we first started looking at this. The second example of how slow things can be has been the progress of my Members' Bill, which would see a system of recall introduced into the Scottish Parliament. I first mooted this at the end of the last session of Parliament and started work on it at the beginning of this session. It's badly needed to restore some trust, but we've not even had the stage 1 debate. It might get over the line before Parliament dissolves at the end of March, and I really hope that my move today does not jeopardise that, as it's far too important for people to play silly games with. This isn't the kind of bitter speech that you might have been expecting, is it? I haven't criticised the Scottish Conservatives or Russell Finlay. For me, politics is about what you can do for people and not yourself. And I've demonstrated that in my 10 years as a councillor in the Conservative bastion of East Kilbride, and since being elected to the Scottish Parliament have the companions of people with sight difficulties allowed free rail travel. That didn't get a lot of publicity, but that's a really positive thing, and it helps a lot of people. I've joined Reform because we have the chance to create something new, exciting and lasting that puts the needs of people over the system, that asks what is going wrong and how we can fix it. The SNP was first elected to power in 2007, so next year will mark 19 years of failure in health, education and transport. Somehow we need to remove them from office, and Reform can help to do that. Scotland needs fresh thinking, new ideas, and I hope to be at the heart of helping Reform shape that offer to the people next year with policies drawn up in Scotland, for Scotland, and designed to fix the mess that we're in. And that's why I'm joining now and not later. I've no doubt that initially my announcement today will spark anger, disappointment, and probably some sheer nastiness. I don't like that aspect of politics, and I'm not looking forward to it. But there are many ex-colleagues who will also understand. And I say to those who have great ideas for Scotland and who may have felt ignored to talk to me. You will find my door, wherever I am put in Parliament next week, open and receptive to the kind of fresh thinking that we need in politics. And over the next few days and weeks, I'll have more to say on what we need to do to fix the mess that the SNP has made and how reform can help to do that. Thank you.
Very good. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome,
Good.
welcome. Brilliant.
Good.
Graham, thank you very much indeed. And now I didn't know you were part of the pub and beer group. For those that don't remember the story, I came up to Edinburgh in 2013 to challenge the idea that how could you have independence in Scotland if you wanted to remain part of the European Union? That was the purpose of my visit, only to be surrounded by a very, very angry mob. Nationalist mob, really angry, all with very wide pupils. I could never work out why that was. And the police locked me into an Edinburgh pub for my own safety. There were a couple of old lags in the corner said it's the most exciting thing that's happened here for 30 years. But I have to say the reception I've had in Scotland more recently has been much more positive than it was back in 2013. And why Graham matters to us, of course, because he's our first MSP, but because he's deeply experienced in the fields of journalism and politics, and I believe he's going to help us significantly in getting our policy platform right for those elections next May. And he's joining us now because he's prepared to put in the hard yards. And it will be important for us, however many of our number go into the Scottish Parliament, to have some people there who can show us the ropes. Otherwise, we'll turn up and just not know what to do. So we're very, very delighted, Graham, that you've made this decision. And I'm sure if you've been a member of the Tory party for all those years, as you say, you've not taken this decision lightly, but you've done it for positive reasons, not negative ones, and that's great. Now, we have a whole host of questions, beginning with Andrew Kerr from BBC Scotland.
Thank you, Mr Farage. Good morning to you. When Richard Tice was here in March, he spoke about net zero. You've now spoken about immigration. The SNP are accusing you of being the architect of the small boats crisis because of your support for Brexit. When it comes to reform and looking ahead to next year, is your party just a two-trick pony in Scotland? And for Graham Simpson as well, will you resign from the regional list because you are elected as a Tory MSP? Thank you.
Oh, I'm a two-trick pony now, not a one-trick pony. Well, that's progress, isn't it? We must be going in the right direction. For years, I was called a one-trick pony. All he ever talks about is the EU. Well, yes, we do talk about the small boats because there is a sense of outrage amongst a very clear majority of the British public on this issue. Firstly, because it's unfair. You know, I touched very briefly on the social housing list in Glasgow, just as one little example. And secondly, because it does threaten our national security. And I'll word this carefully as we're live, but you know, there have been some recent arrests made on suspicion of terrorism offences. And thirdly, because, frankly, people find it unacceptable that if they have HMOs or they have migrant hotels in their area, there is an increase in certain types of crime. And I'm just going to give you a simple fact, whether you like it or not, but an Afghan national is 22 times more likely to be convicted of rape than a British-born person. This is cultural. It's not racial, it's cultural. And I think that's a very, very strong point to make. And and we're now campaigning, of course, on net zero, very much so. It is a self-inflicted wound. It is something of absolute stupidity that is deindustrialising large parts of the United Kingdom. And look, you know, it'd be marvellous if we didn't need oil or gas, but we do. And we're going to for a very, very long time. So why not produce it ourselves? And, of course, Scotland would be the chief beneficiary within the United Kingdom of that. Plus, we've launched a campaign on crime, you might have noticed. We've got Britain's most senior, famous living detective, you know, who's joined us. Colin's joined us, and there have been feature films made about him and books written about him, and we got Vanessa Frake, who's joined us, a very well-known prison governor, regarded as one of the toughest prison governors in the country, and we will be broadening our campaigns and talking about the cost of living crisis. There is a direct link there to energy, I will grant you, because it's one of the main components of the problem. And we'll move on, and we'll talk more broadly about the economy. We'll talk more broadly about the tax system. We'll talk about the fact small businesses have been disincentivised. So no, we are far from being a two-trick pony, but if the SNP are unhappy with us, I haven't got a problem with that.
And just to build on that, I think one of the tasks that I've got, Andrew, is to develop a policy suite that's not just those two issues, but actually looks at the powers that the Scottish Parliament has and how to address the challenges that Scotland faces. So as I said earlier, I'll be outlining some thoughts very soon, not today, not in any detail today, but you'll hear more from me and others on that, so that Reform isn't just seen as a party that just concentrates on two issues. On the question of whether I will resign from the Parliament, I guess you probably know the answer, and the answer is no, I won't be resigning. I think it's a fair question. It's a very fair question. But I won't be. I still have work to do. I've still got this very important members' bill that I want to get through, which I don't see as party political. It isn't. It is about reforming the system in the Scottish Parliament, so that we can have a system of recall there. I take that very seriously. As I said earlier, I think one of the risks, one thing I'm really worried about is by going now, will other parties start to play silly games with that piece of legislation? I hope they don't.
OK, thank you. Colin Mackay from STV.
Thank you. Just to clarify, before I ask you a proper question, who's going to lead the party into the election next year, and who's going to take part in the STV leaders debate?
Well, it won't be me.
You're not going to lead the party. You're not going to lead Reform into the Scottish election next year.
I'm not standing for the Scottish Parliament, no.
But you're not going to lead the campaign.
No,
so you're not
we
going
will
to take
have.
part in the debate.
We will, of course, have a leader of our group, you know, who will go in as leader of the group and be a potential, you know, First Minister. So yes, of course. But hey, you know what? As I've explained before, and I did a similar thing when I was in Aberdeen the other day, you know, we are a work in progress. We're growing. We're probably an advanced teenager now. We haven't got to full maturity as a political party, and as I said a moment ago, we had 200 candidates over the weekend being interviewed. We're going to put out what you'll see from us is a list of candidates representing every aspect of life, with broad experience of many, many fields, and from within that number, there will be a leader as we go into the elections.
On the immigration stuff that you were talking about yesterday, you're talking about keeping 24,000 illegal immigrants in MOD bases. Will any of these internment camps be in Scotland? Will any of the flights be from Scotland? And will you have to contend separately with the Scottish court system?
Even though Glasgow is the asylum capital of the UK, numerically, the numbers in Glasgow compared to the northern conurbations in England are actually very, very small. As for which military bases, you know, we're not going to say that now, otherwise government would simply sell them off and probably put solar farms on them or something like that. But no, we are deadly serious about this plan. And I think what's really interesting is there's been people aren't questioning the need for something radical to be done. Even the Prime Minister hasn't attacked me on the idea that we should be deporting people that come illegally. But he hasn't got the means to do it. The Tories didn't have the means to do it. We are proposing the means to do it.
Separate of internment camps.
People will be detained and deported, yes, and hopefully they'll be in those camps for a very short period of time. And I do believe that once the message gets to those who are prepared to pay thousands of euros to criminal smuggling gangs that if you spend that money and come to the UK, you won't ever be allowed to stay. Within 2 weeks, the boats will stop coming, and that will at least stop the inward pressure that's been coming. There are other problems too. I mean, huge other problems too, such as overstayers. You know, if you look at the asylum list for last year, you see the biggest contingent is from Pakistan. And they're people that have flown, supposedly to meet family members or come on holiday, and just deliberately overstayed and then claimed asylum. So, you know, there are many, many aspects to this. The boats, obviously, is about 40% of it, and it is the most visible thing. And I would just quickly say that when Tony Abbott put forward similar proposals on Australia in 2012, he was met by the same kind of debate. You know, can you, in practical terms, do what you've set out in your general election manifesto? And he stopped the boats. Tony Abbott in Australia proved that with political will, you can stop this scourge. Thank you very much indeed. We're going to go on.
Can I just,
please,
before we move on, just call in on the leadership question, because I think it's a really fair question. What is Reform going to be offering when we come into the final months of the election campaign? Clearly, Reform will need a figurehead so that you can grill them during the STV debate. But I'm not coming in here today as somebody who's been parachuted in to be the Reform leader. That would be entirely wrong. It would be wrong for the members of Reform. So I'm just here as I am, as an MSP.
Yeah, there's no backroom deal.
No, there certainly isn't. But obviously, by the time of the election, we'll need to have someone.
No, absolutely. No, absolutely. Tony Maguire, GB News.
Thank you. Mr Farage, you said that obviously immigration hasn't been a particularly big deal in Scotland, but over the last few weekends we have seen an increasing number of protests outside migrant hotels. What have you learned over your last few trips to Scotland to help you, I guess, renegotiate your plans for England for Scotland? You know, is there an understanding there that things have to perhaps be dealt very differently north of the border? And then to Mr Simpson, in terms of John Swinney, who's often talking about reform as dog whistle politics, bringing division to the country, how do you hope to combat him when you take your seat at Holyrood?
Well, clearly there are some areas that need to be dealt with differently, but there is also, you know, a lot of commonality. There hasn't been a great debate about immigration in Scotland because, frankly, you know, none of the parties in Holyrood have wanted to have that debate. So we've not really been having it. You're right. Over the last few weeks, there's a growing awareness of the issue, and I predicted from the podium a few minutes ago that I think that debate will get bigger. Inevitably, it will get bigger. But I think, you know, I think the one thing that Scotland gives England an example of is the sheer stupidity of not aiming to be self-sufficient in energy, because clearly the Scottish economy stands to benefit far more from oil and gas than other regions or other parts of the United Kingdom. And I think it's absolutely tragic and self-defeating and stupid what we're doing to the North Sea. It just makes no sense at all. It is absolutely crazy on every single level. Economic madness. And the argument that wind power makes us less reliant on other sources of energy from around the world just is not true. The national grid is not fit to deal with intermittent renewable energy. And frankly, if you look at what's happened to energy costs with wind, one of the biggest lies we've been told is that it would give us cheaper energy. It does not. And right at the minute, there's another big round being negotiated for wind contracts. We'll find out what the final auction prices are, but there's no good news in it at all.
With regard to how I'll deal with John Swinney, I get on with Mr Swinney as I get on with most people. He knows me well enough to know that I don't indulge in dog whistle politics, as you describe it. He would have a job making that one stick, but he'll probably try. But I'll take my place in the Parliament next week for First Minister's questions. I'm not sure where I'll sit yet, but it probably won't be with the Conservatives, although actually there's no rules on that in Parliament. You can sit wherever you want, so maybe I'll decide on the day. I'm sure Mr Swinney will have some fun, and I'll enjoy listening to his jokes on the day.
Yeah, but he might be surprised how many SNP voters might actually vote for you and vote for our party next year, so I'm sure he will have a go. Right, let's move on. James Cook, BBC National.
Thank you very much, Mr Farage. Scotland faces, in common with other parts of the UK, a demographic issue in terms of a shrinking share of the working age population and a falling birth rate. Given that, in a flatlining economy over many years now, doesn't the Scottish economy really need more migration, whether that might be legal migration, but doesn't it need more migrants rather than fewer? And just, if you don't mind, for Mr Simpson, I'm sorry, I didn't quite follow, I'm so sorry, your logic in terms of staying in Parliament, because I understand that if one is an MP or if one is elected in a constituency, that to a certain degree one has a contract with those voters, and you can say, well, they voted for me. But no one voted for you, did they? They voted for the Conservative Party.
OK. Do you want to go with that first?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. I was elected on the Conservative list. That's why I've been uneasy with this decision. I am uneasy with it, but the rules say that you can stay. Now, maybe we should look at the rules, but we've had recently Jamie Green has gone from the Conservatives to the Liberal Democrats, and he has stayed on as an MSP. I think that it's maybe something that the Parliament should look at. But I was actually asked this very question when I appeared before the Standards Committee to talk about my bill, and I was asked, you know, should someone in the position that I'm now in have to stand down? My answer was, well, I don't think they should, because people can leave parties for many, many reasons. You know, you may have been finding life very uncomfortable in your workplace. I'm not in that position. The Conservatives haven't made life uncomfortable for me. But I do think I've got work to do. So I'm sorry if it upsets folk, but I'm staying put.
Yeah, I mean, people leave parties, but equally parties leave people as well. And perhaps as a long-term Conservative, maybe that's how you feel to a certain extent.
Yeah, this has not been an easy decision. No. I'm not pretending otherwise.
On falling birth rates, I mean, it's a very fair point. Where are the workers of the future going to come from? One concern on that front is the pace of AI development is such that an awful lot of jobs that exist today are not going to exist in just a few years' time. So we may be in a position where we actually need fewer people in the workplace. But on the subject of skilled migration, I mean, look, you know, if people come into Britain and they've got skills and they integrate and they contribute, then no one's got a problem with that, provided the numbers are at a sensible level. The problem, you know, if we're moving on to legal migration very quickly, is that a Conservative Party that promised net migration of tens of thousands a year gave us net migration of up to nearly 1 million a year. And amazingly, of the last 3 million that came into Britain from outside the European Union, fewer than 20% are in work. So it's actually become a negative. Even the argument, look, expanding population, pressure on services, lack of integration, but don't worry, Nigel, because it's an economic benefit, and now it's not an economic benefit, and everybody knows it. So you know, I get the point, but I think the jobs market is going to go through some quite revolutionary change within the next 5 years, and it's something that government's going to need to think about and adapt to. And of course, one of the answers is that while Scotland maintains, or should maintain, its more traditional oil and gas industries, it also needs to think about becoming a hub for the new, evolving world of AI and tech, because that's where the future is. And I'm afraid the entirety of the United Kingdom is falling badly behind on this race, to my great regret. Thank you very much. Let's move on. Kezia Buckley from Sky News.
Thank you. You've had a number of defections now across councillors and now obviously in the Scottish Parliament. Are you just becoming the party of the old Tories? And how can you say that you're offering renewal if you're just going to fill the seats up with defectors?
Well, we're not, but what we do need some experience. You can't just send people. I mean, if you look at the county councils in England that we won, you know, where we're doing best is where we've got some people that actually have been on those councils, have been in cabinet, who know the ropes. So we do need some people to help us. I'm absolutely not are going to allow this to become the Tory Party 2.0. But and I'm not going to be a vehicle for those just to rescue their careers in Parliament. And I thought, Graham spoke to that point actually quite strongly. Just getting re-elected wouldn't be good enough for him anyway. He's got the ability to do many other things in life. So, we'll be very selective about who comes. And frankly, an awful lot of Conservatives, really are probably closer to the Liberal Democrats anyway. So, those that are coming with us are coming because they see it's a positive vision. And those that are coming to us are all ones that if I accept them on the basis they're going to roll their sleeves up and help us with the project. And, by the way, across the country, at council level, we've got former Labour councillors coming to us. We even had a Lib Dem, which did surprise me very much indeed. But, I think one of the interesting things about reform, and one of the interesting about its growth since the general election, is if you have a look at where the votes have come from, and the biggest and most important chunk of votes that's come to us since the general election has come to us from people who did not vote in last year's general election. So it's a really interesting cross-section of people that are coming to us across all ages, and actually, a much more breadth of the political spectrum than perhaps you would naturally assume.
And actually, I would make the point, Kezia, that when I hopefully stand next year, if I'm selected, and that hasn't happened yet, there is no guarantee that I'll be elected. So I'm going into this with no guarantees of being elected. And I was interested in your description of me as an old Tory. I don't feel that old, but you'll all want to know, but I'm 61, which I know will surprise a lot of you. I don't know whether that's old, Kezia. Older than you.
Same age as me. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Never mind. We can console each other, I believe.
Over a pint.
Yeah, well, probably from the sounds of it. Yeah. Catherine Sampson from where's she from?
Channel 4 News.
Channel 4 News, great.
Yes, Channel 4 News. Mr. Farage, since you're entering into Scottish politics, have you read Nicola Sturgeon's book?
No, I haven't. I was surprised that it wasn't top of my list, actually, for summer reading. No, I haven't.
Very complimentary about you. She describes you as someone with a very fragile ego who's not comfortable, particularly around women. Do you and your party have a woman problem? Are you seeking any female candidates in Scotland? And does your promise on securing women's safety ring hollow when this week you've committed to sending women and girls back to countries where they can be raped, tortured and killed?
True. That is actually not true. I was very, very clear yesterday in what I said, that the deportation of illegal immigrants, we were not even discussing women and children at this stage. There were so many illegal males in Britain, and the news reports that said that after my conference yesterday were wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong.
So women and children will be exempt?
I didn't say exempt forever, but at this stage, that is not part of our plan for the next 5 years. Absolutely. Now, on the broader point, do I have a woman problem? What a question. You might have noticed, or you might not, I don't know. But there's been quite a phenomenon happening within this party over the course of the summer. They've grouped together. They're called Women for Reform, and you will now see them appearing increasingly on national television, in national papers, and there's been a lot of women have joined us over the course of the summer, particularly, and we have a female MP, of course, in Sarah Pochin. We have, a female mayor in Greater Lincolnshire. We have a quite prominent former public prosecutor that's joined us, Lila Cunningham, in London. You'll see at our conference, which begins next Friday, Friday the 5th, I think what you'll see is that Women for Reform is now becoming a very strong force in the party. In fact, it won't be long before I'm completely outnumbered. Thank you very much indeed. Let's go on to Rebecca Alice Brady from LBC.
Thank you, Mr Farage. You say deportation would help keep women and girls safe in the UK. Yet this morning, despite you just saying that your comments weren't about women in the next 5 years, Richard Tice told LBC that he suggested female asylum seekers should be deported to countries where their safety can't be guaranteed, countries like Sudan, where rape can be used as a war tactic. Are you saying that his comments were wrong?
It won't be happening in the first 5 years of a reform government.
But was he wrong?
It's just not our priority.
Does women's safety only apply to women in the UK for you?
Our primary target is to worry about women and girls on the streets of this country, less than what the countries are like that we're going to deport these men to. It's all about priorities, and it's all about, frankly, given the mess that we've had with this over the last few years, it's all about whose side are you on? Are you on the side of British people and their safety? Firstly on the streets, but secondly at a national security level, which I'm very concerned about? Or are you on the side of a series of completely outdated treaties and courts of dubious distinction? OK, let's move on. We've got Craig Megan from PA. The font's so small I can't read.
Hi, last time you were in Scotland, you suggested scrapping the Barnett formula. As a vote for reform, a vote to cut billions from Holyrood's budget and ultimately make Scots worse off.
No, I just said anything that's been in existence for 60 years needs to be looked at. You know, and wouldn't it be great if the Scottish economy was at a level where Barnett formula funding would be lower than it is today? Wouldn't it be great if there was no need for subventions? Because if that was the case, Scotland would have become much wealthier. Some would even say that Scotland would have been made great again. So that was what I was saying, is, you know, the reason we have this is that the Scottish economy is lagging. I mean, there isn't that much to be proud of, frankly, in the rest of the UK economy either, but, you know, we would want, and we will, and I touched on it earlier, but helping the oil and gas industry, helping small business, being pro-business, being pro-investment, and to do that, what you need are some people in politics who actually run businesses, who actually understand how these things work. And there's been an absolute dearth of that in Scottish politics and in national politics too.
So you can promise Scots you won't cut Holyrood's budget?
We're not here, I'm not here to slash billions from the Scottish budget, but I am here to try and help a group of people get into Holyrood, into a powerful position next May, who think about things very, very differently.
People who also don't want to slash Holyrood's budget but want to see Scotland performing better so that we earn more money in Scotland.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, you know, again, a positive, not a negative. Conor Matchett from Scottish Sun.
Hi, Nigel. You've already referenced the stuff around Glasgow being the asylum seeker capital of the UK. The local council says it needs more help from both the UK and the Scottish governments. You do, and in general, how would you describe the situation in Glasgow? And Graham, in March, one of my colleagues asked you if you were defecting to reform. You said, "Don't be silly." What's changed, and are any of your former colleagues thinking about following your lead? And if you had your pick, who would you choose as reform?
Detained. He said detained. So this is Nigel Farage is continuing with the press conference. He's got a Tory defector there. He's a member of the Scottish Parliament. That's the first member of the Scottish Parliament to defect to reform. Now, Nigel Farage, we think, has he rowed back a little? What he's clear he did say yesterday in his speech, we've got it here, Mike, haven't we? He said quite clearly that, yes, women and children, everybody on arrival will be detained. He's making clear he did not say they would be deported to countries like Afghanistan, where women in particular could be subjected to the travails of the Taliban, which is anti-women, and countries like Sudan, where rape is used as a political weapon.
Absolutely true. He then goes on to say that they are a separate issue, women and children, so he's making grounds for, you know, considering them separately.
Yeah, and what he's saying, and what he said today quite clearly is there have been women and children will not be deported to countries like Afghanistan in the next 5 years. What I think will happen, though, I think they could be deported to a different country. He's not saying they can stay here.
Yeah, but I think he certainly rode back on what he said. Yesterday, he was completely unequivocal in what he said. He said it's their problem, not ours. You know, my concern is this country. It's not my concern about conditions in other countries. I think he's realised now that the British people... Squeamish is not a word I'd like to use. I think there's a real pain in this country about the idea of having children sent back to Kabul or to Tehran. You know, I don't see it happening.
Your point is a good one. I mean, I don't think they'll be sent back to Afghanistan, but I think they could be sent to somewhere else. Probably not Ascension Island, but somewhere.
Well,
maybe to Pakistan, which is where there are a lot of
Pakistan is actually expelling 2 million Afghans. Exactly. But his defensive mode here is, I care more about children in this country who may be subject to criminality from people coming here than I care about children who have to go back to their own country.
And he will be applauded for that, I would say, by the majority of the public. Don't you?
And yes, I do. He also said it's not our priority. So he hasn't rubbed out the idea that, you know, we're going to have to deal with women and children the same way as we would deal with anybody else. He just said it's not our priority, won't be happening in the first 5 years. I think that's a good answer. I think it's slightly unfortunate he chose one of the more uncharismatic politicians I've ever come across in my life. You suddenly realise how good Nigel Farage actually is. He looked tired today, I'll give you that, and he's entitled to be looking tired because he's been making the weather for the whole of August. But compared to Graham Simpson, the MSP who's defected, you know, I mean, he's like Pericles. Well, to be honest, Stephen, because you're a politician yourself, if that chap had come to me, Graham Simpson, I would have said we're full. No, I'd have said OK, but I wouldn't have thrown a televised press conference about it. I'd have applauded him for the first 5 seconds, thank you very much, and hang off. Well, because, frankly, all the energy he built up yesterday and enthusiasm, I think some of it has dissipated today. I thought that was a pretty useless press conference, and I think it's negative.
But, of course, what he wants is to play very strong north of the border in Scotland.
Of course.
They're able to make big gains in Scotland at the Scottish Parliament elections next year. They have no presence there at all in the Scottish Parliament.
With the exception of that sort of the recalibration about the women and children, he answered his questions very, very well indeed, from a very articulate point of view. However, in all honesty, he would much rather have had a Scottish MSP rather than somebody from Lancashire. And the other thing is, if you're in Edinburgh and you say that Glasgow is the asylum capital of the UK, most of the people in Edinburgh say, well, that suits me fine as long as it's not us.
I thought that was a point that shocked me. I didn't realise that. I mean, we are talking about
percentage-wise.
But the thing, if you look at the situation in Glasgow, residents are facing council tax rises and cuts to public services and a 60 million budget shortfall. So people are angry in Scotland. So that is going to resonate with voters up there.
And that won't be with the Whitehall government. That will be with the Scottish Parliament.
Exactly.
They've got such huge powers.
And it can't be any coincidence, can it, that the biggest problem Scotland have got with illegal immigration is in Glasgow, which is also the drug centre of Europe.
Yeah. Certainly
it literally has more drug problems than any other city in Europe.
That is one of the most shaming things on the watch of Nicola Sturgeon.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt.
The death rate
we can understand why Nicola Sturgeon is moving to England. Yeah, exactly.
I think you gentlemen, you might be saying that Graham Simpson's not the most lively person in the world, but he made a very, very good point that will resonate with everyone, that the political class are not serving the people well.
Yeah.
And if he said one thing this morning, that was the one thing he said that will really resonate.
That's really a statement of the obvious, isn't it? I mean,
well, of course it is. If it's such a statement,
it has to be said.
And I think actually Nigel Farage's speech has carried such resonance because the asylum system has been willfully exploited by people coming here, and also politicians have allowed it to be exploited, which is why it's people have such an abysmal view of that.
Andrew, the eternal shame is politicians, and I'm as guilty as anybody else on this one. We've accused those people who've been concerned about these crimes as being somehow far right.
That's right.
That is outrageous. I regret it. I bitterly regret it. And I think any Labour politician or any politician on the left who accuses people who've got legitimate concerns and worries as being somehow part of Tommy Robinson's black and white. I'm sorry. And the rate at which it's accelerating, I've been reminded twice over the last 24 hours. In 2018, that's just 7 years ago, Sajid David came back off holiday after 3 dinghies arrived on the national emergency. He came back from Canada on holiday. And 3 dinghies have arrived
and since then, how many have arrived? 180,000.
Exactly. In 7 years.
Major town.
In 7 years. Unbelievable.
It is a national emergency.
Unbelievable. And during Boris's reign, by the way, and that's why I hate the Tories for wasting the opportunities, between his first and second years in Downing Street, the number of people coming here illegally went from 8,000 to 25,000 in 1 year of Boris's reign.
What was quite telling about Graham's defection as well is defecting because Reform are offering a positive, is not leaving because there is a negative that's pushing him away.
Yeah.
So that says a lot about what the reasons he's going for.
On that point, we have to thank Mike, thanks Stephen. In other news, thousands of people are currently painting the town red in Bunal, Spain. Tomatoes being flung around to mark the 80th anniversary of Spain's Tomatina tomato street pie. If you're on the radio, you just got to trust us.
Ooh.
They are literally hurling tomatoes at each other. They are covered from top to toe.
And they're not wearing many clothes. That looks really, really nasty and messy.
It looks
and
really
slimy.
stupid, actually. Why are they doing it? What a waste of tomato.
It's traditional.
Traditional and fun.
You wouldn't want to wear a three-piece suit when you're doing that.
Okay, in any case, if you are off to Spain or anywhere to start throwing vegetables and fruit around at one another, here is the holiday sun weather forecast for you.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Northern parts of Europe are set to see widespread heavy showers. This could lead to some severe thunderstorms at times. But across Spain, Portugal, the Azores, the sunshine is here to stay. But it's really across parts of France, Germany, as we head towards Switzerland and Austria. Northern parts of Italy, we could see these quite intense showers. So thunderstorms, frequent lightning and also some large hail. But elsewhere across the Adriatic coastline, across parts of Greece, the sunshine once again here to stay, along with the warm temperatures.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
I'm Michelle Jude, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. It's the final week to see how you could live the rest of the year mortgage or rent-free. Stop looking at me like that, Andrew.
Nice?
It would be very lovely. And with an additional £5,000 in your bank account as well. You don't have to pay bills on your property, though. We would just end up giving you £15,000 in tax-free cash instead. Here's all the details you need.
There's just 2 days left to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you, we'll give you £15,000 tax-free cash instead. Hurry, lines close this Friday. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
It's good luck if you're entering.
Exactly. I think there's good luck indeed. Jolly good luck. Would be nice, though, wouldn't it, the way things are going with the budget that's looming over us.
Bev, but now Bev's gone, she's never going to get a ride in that camper van, is she?
Well, no,
She kept
exactly,
tipsing.
no.
Whoever wins it, I'd like a trip in it.
Hello, Bev's got Air Force One.
Yeah,
I don't think she's complaining. I mean,
No,
she will be
there is
popping back to see us, thankfully, and she's popping back in Air Force One when Trump comes over and they visit.
Which will be a huge thing.
Just want to read this message out from Angela. Angela says, I'm from Glasgow and it's bad here. Other cities in Scotland will get flooded with illegals soon, and I think we can all see that coming. Thank you very much, Nigel Farage, for that press conference. Love listening to you speak. Women for Reform, I'll be signing up.
Well, and they've got a lot of very senior women.
They really have now, which is good, yeah, absolutely.
Andrew Jenkins, Mayor of Lincolnshire, and that terrific former public prosecutor in London. She came on the programme here.
She's very good, isn't
Very
she?
good.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. In any case, it's been a pleasure being with you. Thank you very much for the company. Thank you for your company out there.
That's it from Britain's Newsroom. I'll be back with you tomorrow with Miriam Cates, but next it is...
It is Britain's Newsroom, and I think it is...
No, we're Britain's Newsroom.
Oh, sorry. Good afternoon, Britain.
Oh, God. Hello. Coming up, Reform gets its first MSP after a defection from the Tories. We'll bring you the latest from Scotland.
And is Nigel Farage right to want to negotiate with the Taliban? We'll be up next.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Some heavy, possibly thundery showers drifting their way eastwards through the course of the morning.